Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're back on the updates 1.95 dev server, and it's time to have a look at the SAV 201248. This is the machine which is coming to the Swedish ground forces for updates 1.95. Now remember, the army portion of the Swedish is not coming until a future update, but this vehicle can be pre-ordered, and you do get some nice pre-order bonuses out of it, and also it means that you will get access to the Swedish tech tree in ground vehicles when it is released in the future. The SAV is coming in at rank 2, battle racing 3.7, which I thought was kind of high until I had a look at its statistics. It obviously has a nice vertical guidance. It has 10 degrees worth of gun depression on this 120mm auto mad cannon, and I was thinking, well, how, does this work? And it actually turns out, if you have a look at how this is set up, the fact is the breech of it is so far forward, it generally doesn't actually come into contact with any of this back bit here, which is what I thought it would personally run into. So yeah, you have this bit, you have this area here, and then the breech is so far forward here that it isn't really an issue at all when it comes to gun depression. The other thing as well is it has an auto-loaded clip, and unfortunately right now it seems to be a little bit buggy, where these are the standard size shells. So these are the 120mm, and these are smaller shells. They look kind of like 40mm, and you can see that they are loaded into a magazine style right here. You have a 6-shooter, pretty much. You have a magazine clip of 6, and as you can see, first stage ammo stowage is 6, and once you fire them off, what happens is very similar to how all of the other autoloaders work in the game, where you pretty much have a situation where you have to load the shell, then load it again into the breech, and then you start revamping your first stage ammo. But you can only fire from that first stage ammo, so you have to wait until people load it in. Generally what this means is even though you have a 6-round autoloader, it's much better to fire 5 and then wait for some of the shells to actually revamp before firing again. Otherwise you'll be in a situation where you're waiting on a reload, which is just going to take a hell of a long time. For me personally, when I see this, I've got a feeling that this actually here is what the first stage ammo storage is. It's even labeled as so. So I'm not exactly sure what this is doing right here. But this seems to be you load it into this area here, and then it pushes it forward into the breech, and then it fires. But for some reason, there's just a bunch of ammo just sat here. It also is a 3-man crew. You got the driver, the commander, and the gunner. So knocking out this vehicle is not too hard to do. You just shoot it right here where its armor is the thickest, and it is only thick to 30mm. So this isn't really going to stop anything. It's going to get auto-cannoned down. It's going to get, killed by pretty much anything. The only question is, will it get hull broken because of the fact that it only has 30mm. It is angled in certain areas, so you can actually get the armor up to about 50, maybe a little bit more, but overall it's not going to make a difference. It's not something that's really designed to take a shell. It's more designed just to be there to deal with small arms fire. The other thing as well is the sides of this machine are 15mm thick. So have fun getting 50 cal to death through the sides of this machine, and also through the booty. The booty is 15mm as well, and so is this bit back here, and this to me is the main issue with the machine that I have. A lot of these machines are very good in the first few minutes of the battle, generally because as you can see out of this machine, it has a fast engine, 400 horsepower at 3000 RPM. It's also got a 1.2 second reloader on that first stage ammo storage. So these are two really nice additions to a machine to make it very viable in the first few minutes of the battle. But once you get past that bit, once you get past that 5-minute mark, what starts turning up, especially at 3.7, where it's not hard to get spawn points, especially when KVs and T-34s and Panzer IV FTs, F2s are running about, what you'll find is planes start coming in, and you got this big open area, first of all, which 2 of your crew members are just sat out of, and also your 3rd crew member can easily be shot from. as you can see here, you know, it's not hard to shoot in this area here. So if you have a bunch of planes, you know, or even one plane, you can machine gun this thing to death. And even if you can't penetrate that, let's say, you know, your eyes are wonky, you'll still be able to pen this 10 millimeters here and destroy the vehicle either by killing its engine right here, which means that it loses its maneuverability, and that means it just dies because it's a tank destroyer or an SPG. It doesn't have a turret, so it needs to have that maneuverability to be able to move around, otherwise it's going to get stuck in areas and just get killed by being flanked. So this thing in the first 5 minutes of the battle is looking really fun, but then after that it's looking dodgy, let's say, because of the fact that it will get killed by planes incredibly quickly. The other thing as well to mention about its general modifications is that it gets access to 2 rounds. Now, because it's a premium, that means that you don't have to unlock any of this, you get it for free, so that's something to look forward to. It has access to an APC-BC round with up to 95 millimeters of pen. It's 95-76-32 with 525 meters per second of, you know, muzzle velocity, which is pretty good. And then you've got the HE shell, which is 28 millimeters across the board with 2.25 kilos of explosive mass. So overall, this round, these 2 rounds are looking really nice. The APC-BC is great, and the HE for a bit of fun. So it also gets access to smoke grenades, 3 of them, which are sat on the side of the vehicle, and they shoot straight forward in front of you, so you can use them to reposition or if you're in trouble, which is really nice. And another thing as well, which was surprising, is the traverse on this gun. So it may look very much locked in place, especially with these little areas here, but it isn't so. It actually has pretty decent movement on it, which is really nice to see. So let's look at the camouflages that are available. Unfortunately, there's only this one, the Unicolor Winter Camouflage, and obviously the kind of dark greeny Swedish camouflage. So not really a lot on offer, if we're honest. Hopefully, as we get more Swedish vehicles, we will see more camouflages, because at least for now, it is pretty dire. And with what's been going on, where every new tech tree seems to get worse and worse camouflages, I don't want the Swedish to be the same. I'd like to see some, you know, new stuff, kind of like what the Japanese had. So the first thing to talk about on this machine is mobility. It's quite large for what it is. You can see the amount of room that the engine takes up on the back, and that's because they designed this to be quick and not, you know, that survivable. First of all, there's the traverse on the gun. For a 120mm, I'd say that's actually pretty good. And also, because it's got a pretty powerful engine, the traverse on it is not too bad. You can see the reload of the gun, absolutely insane, so that is something to look forward to. Gun on the move is completely unstable, and since you have this auto-loading system on the back, it's probably not best to fire on the move, but you can see it gets up to a canter pretty quickly. 40 kilometers an hour for a 3.7 machine is not too bad. I would actually liken this machine to an SU-122 if you stripped its armor off, and you actually added an autoloader to it and also added, you know, a slightly beefier engine. You can see we're nearly up to 50 kilometers an hour for this machine. This is going to be great for the starter maps, trying to get into position, so you can do stuff like whoop. So you can do stuff like that and bounce off the front of T-34s, or you can do stuff like that and actually aim and kill the damn thing. But yeah, you'll be able to get into positions quickly. You'll be able to penetrate the majority of stuff that you face, and as long as you let the autoloader, you know, after a few rounds, be able to, you know, reload and get back up to full, then you won't ever be in a position where you're really going to struggle for damage. A lot of people have said that this is kind of going to be a flank and spank machine. I think it's more than that. I think it can fight in a proper fight, because the thing is, right, let's say you're facing something like that T-34 that we destroyed over there. The moment that T-34 fires, you can easily get 1 to 2 to 3 to maybe even 4 shots off before he is even reloaded. Now that is incredibly powerful for any machine, never mind just a tank destroyer like this machine. So for me, I'm very happy to see that. I'm very happy to see that we have a machine that can rattle off rounds at 1.2 seconds. Like, if we just let, you know, of course, the autoloader go, so we can just rat-a-tat with this KV, it also means that... I was trying to screw up the shot. It means that if you, let's say, screw up a shot, you can reassess, you can shoot again, maybe you miss again, you can reassess, and you can keep doing that until you hit the target. It's very similar to the Lorraine 40T and also the STR V103 in that sense, where if you miss the first shot, it's not curtains, where with a lot of vehicles, such as the Conway, the FE4005, or other tank destroyers like the SU-152, or even some of the Semaventes, once that first shot is missed, it's normally done for, because it means that the enemy knows where you are, you can't really reposition because you don't have the speed of this thing, and you also don't have the reload to get the secondary shot off, so you have to make sure that your first shot is calculated, where in this machine there's a little bit more leeway. You're able to pretty much just miss the first one and fight second. So it's definitely a little bit more what we would class as easier to play than other ones. Here's the grenades, so they fire off. You can see how far they go ahead. That's actually really nice, and that means that you'll be able to back up with its pretty good reverse, and then turn, and then just get out of dodge and reposition. Now, it still has the disadvantages of a non-turreted machine. It's always going to be weaker than if this was a version which had a turret on it. But at the same time, I think the fact that it has this extra speed means that it does have a much better chance of surviving over stuff that we've seen in the past, such as the Semaventes from the Italians, and then also other vehicles, such as some of the tank destroyers from the Soviets, like the ISU-152, the ISU-122, the ones which really struggle, or, you know, the ones which I personally really struggle to play. You know, the speed factor in this will make it a lot more playable, even if, you know, the other stuff would, you know, hinder you, such as the turret. You will be able to turn quickly. But understand, as I said, you'll get a good 5 minutes in this, and then the planes will start turning up. So you got to make sure that even the commander's head is poking out the top. Like, he wants to die. It's that bad. So you've just got to make sure that you have a really good 5 minutes in this thing, and then after that, you are going to die. It isn't a machine that you're going to survive the whole match in. You're going to have to get used to the fact that you are going to die. And that's okay. Just make sure that you make your life worth it. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Ambrosius McClellan, B. Young, Blackie, Daniel Stanton, Jay Wilt, John Ryman, Joseph Anders, Martinez, Moxie, Super Cacti, Uyans Terry, Elove Goat, and Seductive Trashcan for supporting the channel.